Hi everybody, Dave Anderson with TNG, back here with a quick career minute. We're going to do a very short training today on how to do some interview hacks that hopefully will allow you to, when you do get an interview, to go in and really nail it. So let's get started here real quick. So let's start with the concept of the interview hack. What we're going to do for anybody that walks into an interview, you have a pretty typical set of feelings that happen. The first thing you're going to say is, what will we be facing? It can be intimidating as all get out to imagine what's going on. Now, if you've done a few interviews before, you realize that they kind of take a similar form, but you still have those nerves in your belly that you're thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to be doing? In the back of most everybody's head, it's, will I be prepared? And you know what? This is one of those things which, as I work with a lot of people on interview prep, I find sometimes we get over-prepared. So you can both be under-prepared and over-prepared, so you don't want this thing to be biting you. You want to be able to be confident walking in, knowing that you've done everything you've got to be able to do. What questions will they ask? Everybody worries about that. Will I have the right answer? Will I stumble around for the right answer? So we're going to talk a little bit about some ways that we think you can shift that mindset so that you're not so worried about those types of things. And then what if I say the wrong thing? This is something that everybody fears at one point or another, that you're going to say the wrong thing and you're going to end up in a situation where you've kind of got egg on your face. So what we want to be able to do is to shift all of these concerns on their head. And there's a couple of ways to do it. The first thing that you've got to do, though, it does start with preparation. You've got to really know your audience. And I bring a sales background to what I know and bring to the training. And that sales background tells us that, hey, an interview is a sales call. You are selling yourself. And so just like any good salesperson would be prepared and would understand who they're talking to and the dynamics that are there, you need to do the same thing. You need to research the company. Look up and figure out who the hiring manager is. And you may not know that. They may not tell you on the job post. But go into the LinkedIn and use some of the tools like that that can do a deep dive on this company and see who the people are that are at the heads of the departments that you're applying for. And not only that, but while you're in there, see if you can find someone you know, or if not, reach out to somebody in the organization that's in a similar role as you would take. Try and get to know them so that they can become an insider for you. This insider position is so incredibly valuable because they can give you all sorts of insights about how the company works, how to do interviews, who you should talk to, how you can be prepared. We've had insiders tell us stories of the different types of tests that they're going to put you through, the different type of personalities of the interviewers, and these are all things that can really take a lot of the edge off when you know what you're going into. So do your homework, be prepared. The next thing you want to do is have some stories ready. Unfortunately, resumes, while they're fantastic tools, they don't tell a great story. They're not very compelling. And when you've looked at one, you've looked at 100. So what you want is something that stands out beyond your resume. We use the term star stories, which talks about the situation you were in, a task that you were asked to complete, the actions you took, and the results. Those make a very nice, tight story that you can tell about your work experience. And you should have 3 or 4 of these ready. These should be your primary stories. And you want to tell them in a narrative form because people relate to that. It becomes memorable. It's become something that you talk about that you can really stand out amongst other people who are just going down a bullet list of their qualifications. And when you have these stories, regardless of whether you use the star format or not, practice them before your interview. Be really good at telling the story of who you are and why you're the best candidate and why they need to hire you. And once you get into the interview, that's where the rubber hits the road. And here's where things become really important for you to think like a peer versus to think like someone who is going in and hoping to succeed. You got to take that out of there. You've got to go in qualified, just like a sales rep would go in and say, hey, listen, I've got something to offer you. The question is whether I can help you understand that you need me as badly as I think I want you. And that's really what you're doing. And it all starts by walking in and being observant of the surroundings. Who are you meeting with? How are they treating you? Is this something that they're making a big deal of? Is your name on a marquee when you walk in? Or are you just being shuffled around? Are you there with other people? And these will all tell you the types of engagements that you can anticipate seeing. And the more you can prepare yourself for what you think you're going to get. For example, if there's 6 other people waiting to be interviewed, you're probably going into a screening interview. Which means that you want to think about how to manage a screening interview. And we've got some videos on that that you can take a look at. But be observant, figure it out. If you walk in and your name is on the marquee, welcome, and your name is there, then this is a pretty big deal. You know that this company has a great culture of outreach, but you might anticipate that you're going to run into some high people, some people in the organization that are going to be really interested in what you have to say. So these are the types of things you want to do as you're walking in before you meet anybody. The next thing you want to do is understand that it's critical to build rapport. You want to have a connection with the people who you are interviewing with. And when you do that, you will go further, because the bottom line is that people like to do business with people they like. And that helps you then shift the power structure. The reality of the power structure is that in most cases, when we come in, we look at the employer up here on a pedestal and us just lowly down here. And we have to shift that. We have to create what we want to call peer engagement, because the truth is that you are offering them something just as valuable as they are offering you. And just because they have money and resources and have the ability to choose doesn't change the fact that you're a peer and you need to show up in that way. So let's talk about how do you get to that peer structure. The easiest way to get to that peer structure is, instead of being in a dynamic where they're asking you questions and you're just parroting an answer, ask them questions. Ask questions about the job. Questions such as, hey, how long have you been looking for this job? Or how long has this been open? What prompted you to search for this job? Are you growing? Is this a new role? Did someone leave? What are your expectations in the first 30, 60, 90 days of this position? Being able to ask questions, and then ultimately the best ones are the questions that set up your story. So if you want to go in and talk about how you transformed a manufacturing organization in 2 years and increased their safety record, you might ask a question, hey, has safety ever been a challenge around here? Safety numbers. And then based on their answer, you could respond and say, well, can I tell you the story about how I turned around a department and went from an unacceptable level of safety to one where we had 0 accidents. And then you can answer those, and you can tell the story in a way that lays out your qualifications, and that's going to make an impact. So work on the questions that set up the responses and the stories that you want to tell. And then finally, always engage in a peer level. If I'm walking in to do a sales presentation to a company, I walk in as a professional. I walk in as somebody who is deserving of respect. I don't walk in with a big head. I don't walk in thinking that I'm the greatest thing ever, but I walk in with an expectation that the people who are shaking my hand are my peers, not my superiors or not my inferiors. And the closer you can get to creating a peer level process, the more you're going to engage with people at a level that they want to be engaged at, because these folks are looking for something. So let's wrap this thing up and let's talk about a couple of key takeaways, and let's start with that first one we talked about. Your prospect has a problem that they need fixed. They would not be doing all this, taking all this time and doing all this work if they didn't have something that needed to be done. And the question is, are you the person to do that? And it's your job to demonstrate that you are, and not only are you capable of doing it, but you are the absolute best to do that. And so those things we talked about before are all critical to that. Don't assume you know the problem. This is a critical one. people walk in all the time thinking that they know and trying to figure out how they fit the answer to the question. The truth is if you don't know an answer, ask a question. Don't be silly about it. Make sure your questions are good, but confirm the problem. So, it would seem to me that you're hiring a production manager. Are there challenges on the operations floor that I should know about? What brought us here today? As you get the answers to those questions, those are going to be things that will allow you to fill in the blanks really effectively, and not assume facts that aren't in evidence, because those are the things that will end up biting you. Be personable. The truth is, as I said before, people hire people they like. If you walk in and you do this, and one of the best ways of doing that is being observant and mirroring the activity of those people around you. Is everybody sitting at attention and taking great notes and very short and quick answers? Well, if so, then that's how you should respond. Is everybody kind of sitting back and casual and, hey, how's it going, slapping you on the back? If that's the case, then relax a little bit. But you want to be able to be appropriate and be somebody that connects personally. That's so important. Demonstrate your competency in story form so that you remain memorable. The key is memorable. In most interview processes, people take 10, 15, 20 people that go through the process. And at some point it becomes difficult. And generally there's hundreds of applicants that just to get down to that final pool. And you want to be able to stand out. So those become the things that you absolutely must have. So hopefully some of those tips have helped you. I really want you to be able to go in and nail your next interview and be able to just be incredibly successful as you're doing that. What I'm going to do is I want to invite you to come and join us at TNG Boost if you'd like to work through any of these issues. It's our interactive workshop Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Absolutely free for anybody, whether you're looking for a job or you're in job transition. We'd love to have you. Just go to tngindy.com/TNG-boost. There's a short registration. We don't spam you. We just put that in to send you the Zoom link that you'll get on. It is a virtual thing. Come on in. We have a very floating agenda, so if you've got a concern, most likely we'll set up a breakout room and talk about it for you. So again, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you Tuesday night. Thanks a lot. Take care.